special guest, as you've seen her before in our show many times. And that's Keisha L. Jackson, U.S. Air Force veteran and family caregiver. I'm, of course, is Sean Claiborne. I'm an Army National Guard veteran and America's Heroes Group host today on this segment. And we're going to talk about certain things that are about aging in the caregiver community. So, Keisha, how are you doing today?
I am doing very well. How are you, Sean?
Doing pretty good. So you say the topic you wrote today was solo aging, but what about me? What does that mean exactly?
Yeah, this is a topic that is becoming more and more popular. It is, in a nutshell, it is as seniors or as we age. What about if there's no one to provide the care for you and you're doing everything on your own? There's some that say it's 55 and up, some categorize it as 65 and up, but I don't want to put an age on it because you could be 80, you could be 45, and if you're um, aging alone, the information will be good for everyone.
So when you're aging alone, that seems to me to bring up a lot of concerns about how do you make it through the daily lives activities. For example, if you have pain, or if you're struggling with pain, if you're having problems with cognitive issues, things like that, being able to even just get yourself to the grocery store and get home. What types of challenges do people as they age need to consider, and how do we kind of head off these challenges?
Well, you hit the nail right on the head. That's some of the things why the term solo aging or aging alone has actually come up. It was coined in probably around 2016 by a lady that had been caring for her mom and her dad. And after she got finished caring for them, she thought about herself and said, "Hey, what about me?" I remember specifically when I was caring for my mom, I did my own version of solo aging, but I was doing it for more of a selfish reason because I knew that my mom was nearing the end of her life. And so my effort to keep her to try to hold on to her, I said, "Hey, what about me? Who's going to be there to help me?" And my mother's response was, "You help a lot of people. There'll be somebody there to help you." But in particular, like you were mentioning about transportation, it is helping people as we are aging, whether you're single, whether you're married, whether you're widowed, whether you're divorced, whether you have children that are not actively supporting you, or maybe you have someone that you're caring for with a disability that can help you, is to help you to think about different things. Like you mentioned, the transportation, or what if you have to go have a colonoscopy, right? You can't just go, you have to have somebody to drive you. Or what if you have to go to get your eyes dilated? To begin to think about those different things now, if you are considered a solo ager, and try to put some things in place to be able to help you out.
And I also think about this topic too a lot. When people are financially stable, they a lot of times they become, snowbirds. They move to another part of the country where it's warmer. They have better access to healthcare. Taxes are cheaper, things like that. But if you're not financially prepared, those things can be really eye-opening challenges for you, because then you have to start thinking about how do you finance, someone coming into your home to help take care of you, or what if your house is not set up correctly for someone who maybe develops, osteoporosis, or has some type of issue going up and downstairs, things along those lines. So when we think about it from that perspective, what are things that people need to start thinking about? What would you recommend people do to, like, say, a 10-year out, 20 years out, thinking about what do I do when I hit 70?
Mm-hmm.
So people in their 50s now thinking about when they're 70 years old, people when they're 60 thinking about when they're 80 years old, or people when they're 70 thinking about what they're going to do in the next 10 years.
Well, we look at it just from the housing portion of it, like you mentioned. There is the side. There are people that can afford to maybe move into a retirement community to be able to have some of the benefits of being able to do that and help them to become surrounded by a network as a solo ager. But then there are the community where you may not be able to afford to relocate. So some of the things would be, if you're in an apartment, are you in an apartment that's a community? A lot of times we're very much introverts. We don't have communities like we used to. We don't have neighbors like we used to. We don't know our neighbors. But it may be a good time to start finding out who your neighbors are, or maybe seeing if there is a HOA in your area, homeowners association, to be able to find out if there are programs there. If there's a library in your area, sometimes fire departments offer information. Maybe they can come in. I don't know if they do it as much as they used to check your smoke detector or change your light bulbs. Is there somebody in that community that, if you are in a townhouse, that maybe can cut your grass or shovel your snow for you? These are the things, like you mentioned, that you want to start thinking about now to be able to put some things in place to help you out later on.
So another touchy topic is long-term care insurance, because it's very expensive typically. However, that I think one thing people need to realize is that there's a lot of alternative things that have come online in the last decade or so to help people with long-term care, not just what we're talking about veterans benefits, because the VA has a lot of things that people don't know about to help people with long-term care, whether it's just something as simple as respite care, or something as simple as maybe if there's even VA homes, VA nursing homes, or things like that. But if you're not a military person, if you're not getting VA benefits, thinking about ways to finance it through insurance.
Yeah, long-term care insurance is getting more expensive. I think the thought was that it wouldn't be as many people maybe needing it, or different things like that, or the cost of once you move into something in terms of long-term care wouldn't be as expensive. And so either you are in that area where you're financially able to put those things aside, but there's a lot of people that don't have that long-term care insurance, or they're able to be able to get long-term care insurance, or those different things. So yeah, like you mentioned, the VA, and there's other things. But again, those that are in their homes or in their apartments, when you're doing that solo aging, another thing that you could do is learn technology, right? And if you can't, if you're not apt to learn technology, because maybe it's because of your age, within your community, again, maybe if you're going to the supermarket, or learn who's in your community that can help you. Maybe there is a high school program where there's volunteers that can do particular things, or they can teach you technology. Or I know I'm a volunteer with AARP, and I know they have online things that they help people to learn about technology and different things like that. If there may be a local urgent care around you, maybe you can go there and find out if they have any programs with a local college where students can get some type of credit, or different things like that. There's just a lot of different things. And with this discussion, that you're asking questions and I'm sharing certain things, especially for that age group where you mentioned like 50, around that age, or 40, or maybe even a little bit older. What we really want to do is get people to start thinking about tomorrow today, and don't wait till tomorrow to start thinking about those different things.
Right. And I just have to throw this out there because I think it's really important. People don't realize that life insurance can even be used nowadays as
Yeah.
long-term care.
Yeah.
So just having a regular life insurance policy, our generation and younger don't really, our life insurance is not something that's a big staple, but the older generations that have life insurance, it was something that people did back in the day. People got life insurance policies, and they have these cash value life insurance policies that could be converted into long-term care hybrid policies, which could be an example of things what people can start thinking about. But you got to do the research to investigate, to find out, what's available to you with the resources that you have. Another thing I think is important when we start thinking about aging is, and I want to paint the picture as what we talk about solo aging, because there's certain people I believe that are solo aging because they just don't have those relationships, even though those people in their lives may exist. They might have kids, they might have friends that they don't talk to that's in a long time, or they might have church members that they're not that close to, at least not in a way where they have that intimate relationship where they can just call somebody up and say hey, or they may not just want that type of relationship. They might be just more independent. But then there's people that truly have nobody. They don't have kids. Their spouse has already passed on, or they never had a spouse. So they're truly just by themselves. Who is the typical solo ager when you talk about using the word or the term solo aging?
It's mostly, you would think of people probably within the 65, 75, 85, and that's more of that. I know that's a wide span, but it's more because now they are forced to be in a particular situation. Maybe now they're getting Social Security, or they may be on pension. So some of the things that they may have been able to afford before, they can't afford those. Maybe they have children that are not actively involved in their life, or they don't have children at all. Those are the things that those are the age groups. Or maybe their spouse now has formed a form of dementia or cancer, or and they can't take care of that spouse can't offer support that maybe they were able to do before. And then it's the other side of it. I was talking to someone whose spouse passed, and the spouse did everything. The person didn't even know how to, and he said it was as a gentleman. He said his wife did everything. They were married for like 50 years, and he did not even know how to wash his clothes.
Wow.
He was so overtaken. Now, this was is a man that had worked all his life, and was receiving pension and everything, but he was so lost because that person did everything and managed everything, that he said one time he had his gun. He said he was getting ready to take his life. He said the only thing that stopped him was thinking about his spouse and saying that she would not have wanted that.
Wow. Was he a veteran?
No, no.
Wow.
Yeah, and so, and then I was in the store the other day, and there was a lady in there, and I would believe she was probably between 75 and 75, 80 years old. And I was taking something back, and it was either her register or someone else's. And she was like, "Oh, no, you could come here." And then the other guy was just at his other register. So I said, "Well, I'm going to go to him because I don't want her lifting this." Because I didn't know if she's solo, married or whatever, but just out of general respect for an older person. And so after we finished, I asked her, I said, "Can I ask you something personal? And if you don't want to answer, I totally understand that." And I said, "Are you working because you want to work, or are you working because you have to work?" And fortunately for her, she said she was working because she wants to work. She said she had worked for 50 years of her life. And she said she needs to do this to stay active, to keep herself active, because she know if she stayed home, she would be more sedentary and she would not be getting the exercise that she need. And in this particular store, it was a department store, which totally scared me because, again, I believe she's I would say about 75 and up. And the only reason why I can say that is because she said she had already worked for 50 years of her life. She said she gets up, she gets on the ladder, goes up to the top, comes back down. And so I'm thinking, to me, it doesn't even matter if you are able to do that. What if something happens and you were to fall? Because I'm always thinking about those things. I had relatives, one of my aunts, even in her 90s, her going up and down her stairs, it used to make me so nervous. And then another relative that had a stroke and refused to stay with her children because she still wants to stay by herself. So that's another part of that solo aging. You have help sometimes, you have assistance, but you don't necessarily want to take the assistance.
Yeah, I think that's a big theme that you touched on. Something I think is really important. My mother's that same way. She rather, though I have lived with her when she was going through her bout when she had her stroke. And now my brother lives with her permanently for the most part, or semi-permanently. But she rather live by herself. I mean, she's up and walking again, talking again, things like that. It's been several years since she had her stroke. She's not fully recovered. That definitely has affected her for the remainder of her life. But she's at least is able to take care of herself. But my brother is there to kind of watch her. But the reality is she'd rather be by herself. Mm-hmm. Another thing I think is important and concerns me about is the topic that I think we have to consider is that we don't really recognize when our mental capacity start to diminish.
Exactly.
You can't see that coming. It just starts to happen gradually. And if you could see it on yourself, people would get help for the most part, right? But you don't know when you're losing it. You don't know when you're starting to get dementia. It starts to happen one day. Yeah. And that opens you up also too to being vulnerable to people that who take advantage of you. Yeah. Predatory people that might come into your life to act like they're a caregiver that are not really thinking about you, but maybe want what you have. Maybe they want to get free housing, or maybe they want your money or whatever they're trying to do to take advantage of you.
Yeah, that's so true. There are a lot of people out there that will definitely take advantage of you. And like you mentioned, we don't know that when our mental capacity will shift a little bit. But I think there is a study, and they said that whether you're in an assisted living, nursing home, or even if you're at home by yourself, that the the percentage of those to either develop dementia, a form of dementia is higher, or to maybe to even die earlier is because you're aging alone and you
Wow.
become more of a recluse. So those are the things that we're really trying to help people to understand. Community is really good, whether it's your church, whether you can get on social media, help somebody have someone to help you, to maybe be a part of a social media group. But one of the things that I was thinking, and it kind of ties back into something that you mentioned earlier about people that may not be able to afford to move into a type of planned community, is it's not the best thing. But like you mentioned, your brother, if you have an apartment, maybe if it's a 2-bedroom apartment, you might have to think about getting a roommate. And I know a lot of people do not want to hear that, but if you have someone in that place with you, it's not only helping you in terms of maybe if you need someone to take you to an appointment or something like that, but if something happens, is someone in there, but it could also be another form of income for you as you age, and maybe you only have maybe Social Security or something like that. So those are different things to think about. And even today, I was thinking about some people. What if maybe if you did foster care? That's a win-win, if I could say it like that, because it could help you. And now you're helping maybe a younger generation that may know technology. There is financial assistance that's provided for foster care. And every situation is not perfect, but just different things. What I want to do is help people to expand their thought, because if you don't have money to maybe move to another community, what are some of the things that you may be able to do to be able to help you if you're solo aging?
You just reminded me of Punky Brewster, that the original TV show where
Hmm.
there was a retired guy. I don't know if he was retired, but he was a senior, and he adopts Punky Brewster and
Mm.
takes her into his house with. I think she had a dog or something like that.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah, I
then I kind
remember
of he did more caring for him, but but when you think about it, that's like that happens. I mean, that does happen a lot. Where you have, and I've even seen it where I actually knew a lady who lives not too. I'm not sure she's still living, but was not living too far away. Her husband was a Holocaust survivor, and he was in his probably 70s or 80s. She was caring for him, but she had such a big house. She started just renting out rooms for little or nothing. She would
that.
have students coming from the college, and some of them, because of the type of work they were doing, type of studies they were doing, she would let them stay almost rent free or pay little or nothing for a room. But they helped her with the house because she was taking care of her husband, and then they were kind of just helping with the cooking and cleaning and doing certain things along those lines. So she had this extended family, and she was a social person, so it really worked out well because she liked their company. She
Yeah,
liked
and
talking.
that's the thing. We have to get out of ourself, because first of all, it's even hard for us. I hear this so often when people get that AARP when they turn 50 and they're like, wow, I can't believe I'm 50 now, or I have to accept the fact that I'm getting older. But if each day you're getting older. And so the best thing to do is try to plan and be prepared. Not that things would ever happen, but maybe if you can afford it when you're younger, what about taking out maybe a tub? Because we know the probability or the percentage of accidents in a home, the bathroom is the number one place where there are accidents. And a lot of times is getting in and out of the tub. And I just had my brother, who I mentioned that I was caring for him when he was placed on life support for a while. He tripped getting out of the tub most recently. And
Wow.
then someone else had just told me that they tripped getting out of the bathtub.
Hmm.
So if you have the finances now, maybe consider getting a walk-in shower, or thinking about maybe if you're still driving a stick shift, maybe it's time to give up a stick shift. Maybe if you have a gas vehicle, if you can afford it, do you want an electric vehicle? Maybe those are the things to think about. So maybe you don't have to pump gas. When you get older, you don't have to be out at night. So these are all different type of things that we want people to be able to think about as they're aging, relatively from a young age, and say, you know what? It doesn't matter if I'm married. It doesn't matter if my spouse is working. There could be something that happened that pulls you down to one income, or something can happen. I was I was mentioning about the husband who was saying that he didn't know what to do after his wife had passed. The very opposite, and these are two veterans, 60 years old. The husband passed 2 years ago. And after he passed, the wife said, now they had a child, an adult child, but the wife said, he did everything. I am so lost now. I don't know what to do. Now, mind you, these were two retired people, but because the husband took care of everything. And then this spouse had to wind up learning how to do things for herself, and then she wind up dying just a few months ago.
Wow.
So we just don't know what the situation is going to be, but we do know that as much as we can plan for the situation, we definitely want to be able to do that.
Do you think it's a good idea for people, especially married couples, to have power of attorneys in place, where someone can, the power of attorney, people, for people that are not familiar, a power of attorney allows someone else, you delegate authority to someone else, either when if something happens to you, like you become incapacitated, they can step in and do things on your behalf, or you can just make someone power of attorney immediately, and so that person now can go and do things for you on your behalf if you can't do it on your own.
Yeah,
Um,
I think it's a phenomenal thing. But the challenge is what I find in a lot of marriages is just like parents with their children, a lot of times they don't want to talk about it. And so initiating, getting someone to talk about it, even if they don't want to talk about it, is so important.
do you think it's a good idea to have a power of attorney in place?
Oh, without a doubt. Yes, because you just never know what happened, and because there's different type of power attorneys to be able to understand those different things and to talk to your children about it, just like a DNR. It's so important to be able to have these things, to be able, if your parents are older, to be able to talk to an elder care attorney, to have that, to ask questions, to be able to have knowledge about different things. This is something that I always talk about. Find about your local area agency on aging. A lot of people don't want to do that. You may not like the Meals on Wheels that they provide, but there's local transportation, right? At least if you're finding out about it, you have more knowledge than finding out that you need to sign up. And then when you sign up, there's a waiting list, and then it takes you 5 or 6 to 7 years to be able to get to the top of that list.
And I almost want to recommend for people to at some point in their life be a caregiver for someone else, to really understand like what's entailed and what happens when someone faculties start to fail, when their body starts to fail, things along those lines. Because unless you've really been a caregiver, I think for a lot of people it's hard to conceptualize what it really means to take care of your business before you find yourself in that situation.
Yeah, a lot of times it seems like younger people are, and we probably all been there, done that in some aspects of it, are invincible. You don't think about anything, and even with your family, with your parents, you think that they're going to live to forever. So we don't do the things that we need to do to put things in place. So hopefully we will consider these things, take them to heart. If we're solo aging, or if we know somebody solo aging, and be able to share them some things with them to be able to help them to age well.
Keisha, you always got some great advice for us on some great information. I appreciate your time again. I was surprised to hear though that you participated in another nonprofit. You were volunteering at AARP, you said?
Yeah, I volunteer with AARP and some other things. And I do that because it helps me stay connected to the community and to be able to help others that are in need. And that's really what goes back to why my mom said, you may be solo aging in some aspects of it, but there's somebody out there that will be able to help you.
Thanks again for your time.
Thank you, Sean.
This is America's Heroes Group. We'll be right back. Stay tuned. And also don't forget to like and subscribe and see us on our website, americashg.org. You can find us on Facebook, YouTube, and anywhere you get your podcasts.